British scientists get approval to begin experimenting on the DNA of human embryos. This is SkyWatch TV for Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. Now, there's a lot of geopolitical news to catch up on from the last 5 days, so I'm just going to touch on this story today and go into more depth tomorrow. But British scientists, in a landmark decision, have permission from their government now to begin editing the DNA of human embryos. This is significant because these changes are being made to the germline, could be passed down from generation to generation if the embryos were brought full term, which we are told they will not be. They are to be destroyed after 7 days, which ethically, apparently, makes it acceptable to create human life in a laboratory and then destroy it for research purposes. But again, more on this tomorrow, and we'll also talk about this in some depth on our Sci Friday broadcast this week. For a look at the research, or rather the motives and perhaps the implications of this research, we recommend the SkyWatch TV produced documentary Inhuman, The Final Phase of Man is Here, which is available at the SkyWatch TV store. Now, in geopolitics, an ISIS attack in Damascus over the weekend leaves 70 dead. A suicide attack Sunday carried out against Shia Muslims, or Syria's holiest Shia Muslim shrine, the Sayyida Zainab Mosque. The attack was carried out by a car bomber and 2 suicide bombers. It's believed that this mosque contains the grave of Zainab, the granddaughter of Muhammad. Russia has moved its most advanced fighter jet to Syria. At least 4 of the state-of-the-art Su-35 fighters were deployed to an airbase near Latakia in northwest Syria. That's the heart of the Assad regime's power base. Tensions between Russia and Syria's northern neighbor Turkey escalated after Turkey shot down a Russian Su-24 fighter bomber on November 24th. Turkey accused the plane of violating its airspace. Well, Russia and Turkey exchanged more words and accusations last week, Turkey accusing a Russian plane of violating its airspace again. Russia says the Turkish government is trying to manipulate the Western media and, by extension, Turkey's allies in NATO with these accusations. Meanwhile, an Arab newspaper in London is reporting that Syrian Kurds are planning a major offensive along the Turkish border. This attack, according to the report, would be for the final stretch of the border between Syria and Turkey controlled by the Islamic State. The goal is to take away the logistical route that ISIS uses to bring in supplies from Turkey and foreign fighters. This would be along a 60-mile stretch of the border just west of the Euphrates River, the town of Jarablus, over to the town of Azaz, the same area that Turkey proposed to make a buffer zone last June, a zone free of the Islamic State, but also free of the Kurds, who the Turks consider a bigger threat than the Islamic State. You see, the Islamic State controls a territory inhabited by about 7 million people, but many of those 7 million people aren't there by choice. By contrast, there are 30 to 32 million Kurds living in the region, and about half of them live inside Turkey's border. Turkey does not want an independent Kurdistan. In Iraq, deferred maintenance might do something the Islamic State was not able to, and that is destroy the big hydroelectric dam on the Tigris River at Mosul. Kurdish fighters took the dam from the Islamic State in the fall of 2014, captured it, preventing ISIS from doing what it did at the dam at Fallujah in Iraq, which is cut off water supplies to people downstream. However, neglect, deferred maintenance on this dam is taking its toll. There are some serious engineering challenges. For example, the foundation of the dam was built on gypsum, clay, and chalky limestone. In a worst-case scenario, Iraqi officials say the spring rainy season coming up could cause the dam to fail this year, which could kill as many as 500,000 people and leave as many as 1 million more homeless. But it's not just the engineering situation that's a problem, it's the political complications. The government in Baghdad is weak. They've got serious budget problems, especially because of the low price of oil. And hardline Shia politicians in Baghdad see American proposals to fix the dam as part of a conspiracy to expand Western influence in Iraq. And as the Iraqi government continues to fight the Islamic State for control of the city of Fallujah, people trapped in the city are beginning to die of starvation. The city, about 40 miles west of Baghdad, has been surrounded for several months by government troops, and at least 10 are reported dead of starvation now since government troops blockaded the city, stopping deliveries of most food, medicine, and fuel. And what supplies are making it into the city are being hoarded by the Islamic State for its own fighters' uses, which makes the government even less willing to allow necessary and needed food, water, and fuel to make it into the city. In Israel, residents who live on the border with the Gaza Strip report hearing some strange noises at night lately. The sounds of banging and hammering, digging, taking place right underneath their houses. Hamas, it's known, has used tunnels to smuggle fighters into Israel from the Gaza Strip, used those tunnels to great effect in the 2014 war against the IDF, gave their fighters an element of surprise that somewhat offset their lack of firepower. The Israeli government has investigated, said that it's not turned up any evidence that those nighttime noises are coming from Hamas tunnels. In the spirit of keeping your friends close, British and American intelligence have secretly hacked into live video feeds from Israeli drones and fighter jets for almost 2 decades. Last Tuesday, the web magazine The Intercept released documents obtained from NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden, revealing that the U.S. has been spying on Israeli Air Force operations for 18 years. The joint U.S.-British operation was codenamed Anarchist. The intercepted video feeds were collected by British intelligence at their base in the mountains on the island of Cyprus. Well, last Friday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called American Vice President Joe Biden and demanded an answer for this intrusion. Now, Biden reportedly pointed the finger at British intelligence, GCHQ, which probably just served as a contractor for the NSA in collecting this signal data. It's a cozy arrangement in which GCHQ feeds information to the NSA in exchange for American intelligence on British subjects. Plausible deniability for both parts. We're not spying on you, that was the NSA. Now, the bigger question is why this information is being released now, because it probably was already known to the Israeli government. Our spying on them is no more a secret than Israeli spying on the United States, especially for American technological and industrial secrets. There are a couple possible explanations. You see, Edward Snowden is living in Moscow now under Russian protection, and it's possible that Vladimir Putin wanted to send a message to Israel and to the Sunni rebels operating in Syria, backed by Saudi Arabia, so a message to the Saudis as well, that Israel's technological superiority in the air is a myth, and that they shouldn't count on the Israeli Air Force to support their operations in southern Syria. Also a message to the Israeli Air Force to stay out of Syria because the Russian Air Force is there right now. Now, speaking of drones, the government of Iran released this image last week, part of a video broadcast on Iranian state television. It was reportedly taken by an Iranian drone of what is claimed to be an American aircraft carrier. Now, a U.S. Navy spokesman did confirm that an unarmed Iranian drone flew directly over the USS Harry Truman on January 12th. He said the Navy didn't fire on the drone because it was unarmed and posed no danger to the ship, as the Truman was not conducting flight operations at the time. In Europe, the White House plans to increase the deployment of heavy weapons, armored vehicles, and other equipment to NATO countries on Russia's western borders. This would require quadrupling the military's current budget for spending on its forces in Europe. Countries likely to receive the equipment and additional U.S. forces include Hungary, Romania, and the Baltic states, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania. And some analysts believe this will rattle Russia. And the whole point, of course, is to send a message. Another sign in recent days that Europeans may be reaching the limit of what they will take. Last Friday night in Stockholm, Sweden, a group of masked men marched through the busy central square there, handing out leaflets with the words, "It's enough now." And then they proceeded to beat people who looked Arab or North African, so-called street children that are being housed in the area around the central train station in downtown Stockholm. This follows the murder of a social worker last Monday in the city of Gothenburg, which is about 290 miles southwest of Stockholm. 22-year-old Alexandra Mezher was stabbed in the back as she tried to break up a fight between 2 teen immigrants at a refugee center. The 15-year-old boy from Somalia has been charged with 1 count of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. A member of the Gothenburg police told the London newspaper The Daily Mail that in 30 years on the force, he's never seen anything like the explosion of crime that's followed the influx of asylum seekers to Sweden. After the attack, a neo-Nazi group called the Swedish Resistance Movement said the so-called hooligans accused of beating men of Arabic appearance had cleaned up criminal immigrants from North Africa in the downtown area, said that police have shown that they lack the means to deal with the problem, and so they see no alternative but to handle the situation themselves. As I said last week, it's becoming apparent that there are three choices for Europe as it moves into the future: fascism, submission, or mass deportation. And as we reported, Sweden has announced it is going to deport and repatriate about 80,000 asylum seekers. That's about half the number that arrived in Sweden in 2015. Now, we now live in an age when you can be expelled from school for your DNA. Seriously, this happened in 2012. A sixth grader in Palo Alto, California, was asked to leave his middle school because of his DNA profile. You see, this young boy carries the genetic markers for cystic fibrosis. Doesn't mean he'll get it, and in fact, he's not shown any signs of it to date. But kids with cystic fibrosis can't be near each other because they're vulnerable to contagious infections. And there was already a pair of siblings at the school with cystic fibrosis. And when their parents found out about this boy, the third boy, they demanded that he be removed from the school, even though, as I said, he's never shown the symptoms of cystic fibrosis. His parents have sued the Palo Alto School District for genetic discrimination. Now, in 2008, the federal government passed the Federal Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, or GINA, but that only protects us in two cases: when we apply for a job and when we apply for health insurance. We do not receive any protection for what people might think about our DNA profile when we apply for education or housing, any other case where our DNA, our genetic predisposition to certain conditions, might be an issue. And as federally regulated and managed health insurance becomes more and more intrusive in the United States, we can expect this particular case to be the first of many lawsuits filed on behalf of those seeking redress for discrimination against our DNA. Now, if your head exploded last night on SkyWatch Television, don't say we didn't warn you. Dr. Michael Heiser, author of the book The Unseen Realm, was our guest, and we talked about how the Bible is a narrative of the battle for God's cosmic mountain, his holy mountain, the Mount of Assembly, the Mount of Congregation. It goes by many names. Sometimes those names differ depending on the English translation you read. But ultimately, it is a battle for Eden. Yes, Eden is a garden, but it's also a mountain. If you missed the interview on the Christian Television Network last night, you'll see the SkyWatch TV interview on the SkyWatch TV channel on Roku. If you don't have it added to your account yet, log on to skywatchtv.com/Roku for instructions. You'll also see it later this week on the SkyWatch TV channel on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed yet to our YouTube channel, there's a link to do that at skywatchtv.com. That'll take you to our YouTube channel, and then click the subscribe button there. And that will make sure you're notified every time we post a new program or interview or one of these daily news updates to the SkyWatch TV channel on YouTube. February is here, and we have a new gift for you this month, a reminder of the love that God shared with us. This resin cross, which is molded to look like stone, carrying the central message of the gospel, John 3:16. For God so loved the world in this way, that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. That's our gift to you for your gift of any amount during the month of February at SkyWatch TV, and instructions on how to donate at skywatchtv.com/donate. And you can help us every single day with a click of the mouse. Find us on the internet at these locations, and then click like or share to share information about the important changes taking place in the world around us with your friends, family, and colleagues. And as I get motivated and stick things on the internet, you'll find what I post here, Twitter, Facebook, and my website. And if you've got questions, comments, or suggestions for us here at SkyWatch TV, send those to dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.